Nice job. That was great.
Good evening. I call this meeting of Newington Board of Education to order. Today is Wednesday, May 15, 2024. The time is now 7 p.m. We will now begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Miss Craig, can you please do the roll call?
Mary Beatrice.
Here.
Mila Breyer.
It's Mila.
Mila Breyer.
Here.
Brittany Cox.
Here.
Sean Halloran.
Here.
Anthony Neely.
Here.
Timothy Newton.
Here.
Amy Parati.
Here.
Sam Sharma.
Here.
Jessica Weaver.
Here.
Anastasia Young. I have everyone here except Miss Young.
The first order of business is our presentations of awards and proclamations, and we have our kid board chair essay contest winner, Mila Breyer. Go ahead, Mila, you can read your essay.
Hi, my name is Mila Breyer. I am in 3rd grade and I go to Elizabeth Green School. I'm running for Kid Board of Education Chair. My main idea is for the schools to learn more about the environment and use what they learn to make improvements. We can also have a month dedicated to this learning. Students can plant trees and make a school garden. Each grade can have a different task to help the garden. Part of the learning will be about trash, recycling, and composting. In the cafeteria, we can have bins for each of those categories to reduce waste. The soil created from the composting bins can also be used in the school garden. A team effort is important to the earth. This would be a great thing for kids and teachers to learn about, and that is why I should be elected as Kid Board of Education Chair.
Thank you so much, Mila. So for those of you who don't remember, we did an essay contest for Kid Board of Education Chair, and Mila was chosen as our winner. So congratulations to you, and thank you so much for coming here and starting our meeting. I'd like to open up for board comments. Mary. Oh.
Mila, thank you so much. A couple of months ago, we talked about having a kid board chair, and I was so excited to see what kinds of ideas you guys were going to bring and who the winner was. And I'm so proud of you and thank you for coming and joining us today. The thing that really strikes me the most is your ideas about the environment and how the school, the entire school community is able to help. But the best part is not that just everybody's working together as a team across classrooms and grade levels, but the ideas that you're implementing will have effects going on for years after you have graduated from eGreen. So the hard work that you and your friends and your classmates put in are going to keep going long after you've been with the school. And that's what leadership does. Leadership leaves little seeds behind, and those seeds grow into good things that help people that come behind you. So thank you so much. Your ideas are wonderful and you're a great leader.
Mr. Halloran.
Wow, that was a great essay, and you get to sit at the front of the table and be. Hopefully, you don't have to stay for all the boring stuff, but you get to hit the gavel. I spend my day job working for a sustainability company, teaching people how to recycle and reuse and, really having an impact in the world we live in. So the fact that you chose that for your essay speaks to me personally, and I'm very, very proud you carry that. And I hope you leave greener than when you left it. Thank you.
Ms. Weaver?
Mr. Holleran had the great line there, so I don't know how I beat that, but Mila, that was a great, great essay. What wonderful words you used. It was incredibly eloquent, and you're a great speaker, and you're really clear with all your words, and I think your ideas are incredible. So one, just thank you so much for already representing Newington in the best light. I think this was obviously a great choice for Kid Board of Education Chair. And I always tell some of our folks who come up here, you won't be too far behind if you want to come and sit back up here someday too. So thanks for already starting that process out. And I'm very excited to hear more about your ideas to come. And you're making this eGreen alum very happy to see you as an eGreen student.
Mr. Sharma?
Hi, Mila. I just want to say you have my vote, and I loved your essay. I love your ideas. So thank you for coming out and being brave and coming out and sharing it. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. I hope you will consider a political career. Definitely student council next year. Look into running for president. We do have a certificate for you, and we would love a picture. Yeah, hold that.
Oh, good idea. That'd be great. Then maybe we'll have mom and dad join for another picture. I love it. Beautiful. Mom and dad, why don't you come up? We'll do a nice family photo. Want me to use your phone? Thank you. All right, look at that. Congratulations. Beautiful. Well done.
Thank you so much.
She's learning.
Good job. Thank you so much for being here. Okay. Next, we have our presentation for Everyday Hero with Dr. Brummett.
Awesome. And feels like it must be an e-green kind of day here at the Board of Ed. Okay. And of course, my cursor decided to do something odd. Technical difficulties. My cursor has suddenly gone bananas. So I'm gonna stop sharing for just a minute. Stop presenting. I'm gonna go get it from another resource. I don't know why it didn't come up. Try it this way. All right. My apologies for that delay. Tonight is my pleasure to honor an everyday hero, Brian Quigley, who's a cafeteria aide from Elizabeth Green School, and he was nominated by Jim Marciano, the principal. Brian is a cafeteria aide who goes above and beyond to support our students and staff. Most recently, he developed a lunch discipline plan. The plan emphasizes the importance of both teaching and reinforcing behavior at the individual and group level. It supports our goal of building a supportive and equitable school community. Brian and I have had many conversations about inequities in discipline and will continue. He has presented the plan to staff and students, done all the background work in developing it, ordering materials, etc. Brian is unique in his abilities as he understands the fundamentals of teaching without the certificate. Additionally, when not working in the cafeteria, Brian meets with our youngest students in KN1 to do reinforcement work in areas of early literacy. We have noted progress of these students due to the consistency of his understanding of how students learn. We are very lucky to have him as a staff member at eGreen School. Additionally, Brian posted little renditions of the keypad so that students can practice their number all the way up through the line. He was already able to shave off several minutes of wait time. There you go. A big shout out to him to make the learning of the student numbers manageable for our youngest students. Congratulations, Brian. And Mr. Marciano, since you're here.
Oh, I get to say something.
And-
So Mila, if anyone can make the composting idea happen, this is the guy. I could.
You'll all solve it.
So I think cafeteria aid is a title that Brian has transformed the cafeteria. I would put our cafeteria up against any cafeteria in the country, in the world. It is an oasis where students are free to socialize, and our staff aren't plugging their ears because it's so loud and crazy in there. His system for discipline recognizes students. He understands the fundamental of the students that have the most difficulty, need the most reinforcement. And that is echoed in all that he does within the system. I was in there the other day and noticed several of our students sitting at VIP tables. And I think that's such a way to recognize their efforts and just to have some fun in the cafeteria. And he goes well beyond the cafeteria in terms of his work with our KN1 students. Again, the consistency that which he works with students every day, 5 minutes, 7 minutes with a kindergarten student has a huge impact on the foundational skills that they're developing. Just a little bit of practice. And he does that with such consistency that we see the results of it. It's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure working with him. He has such a good background with kids, with the work that he's done at the YMCA. If we ever need like somebody to run the cafeterias across the district, this would be the guy. So fantastic. Congratulations. Well deserved, well earned.
Want to say anything?
Thank you.
We posed for a
Did you get the
picture.
yet, Deb?
No, she didn't.
You don't always get the nominators here, so it's nice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Brian.
I'll open up to board comments. Ms. Weaver.
I just wanted to say thank you for Mr. Marciano, as always, for nominating. It's always great to see just kind of how staff recognizes each other. But I just want to say thank you so much for all that you've done for eGreen. My cousins are both KN1 at eGreen, so extra special thank you. Little bias here, but it's just wonderful to hear. I think we often talk about, what everyday heroes do in the background and all these things that sometimes just aren't brought to light. And that's really the point of this award, is that it's truly something that happens every day, and the work that you're doing is so impactful, and it's not necessarily always in the classroom. It's not necessarily a child's grades or, what's going to be on the report card. It's everything outside of that. And to hear this, the words that Mr. Marciano used to describe the work that you're doing is just really incredible. And I just want to applaud and thank you so much for what you did for our students. I know my cousins have gotten extremely good at numbers in the last year, and I was wondering why. So I'd like to now attribute that to you. So thank you.
Mr. Sharma.
I want to quickly thank Brian for actually going above and beyond, and your work is really inspiring. So keep doing a good job, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Ms. Yap.
Yes, I want to second that and say thank you so much for all you do. And as Jessica said, it's not always in the classroom. We have to recognize others around the district. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, Brian, for your work. It's definitely great.
E-Green's lucky to have you.
All right, our next one is recognition for our mentors and mentees. Mr. Farisi.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to recognize our mentors and mentees, specifically our mentors, however. We are so fortunate that we have a number of mentors that are actually joining us online this evening. And I want to share a little bit about what they do and what makes them so special. Each time we have the good fortune of hiring an educator here in the Newington Public Schools, the next thing we look for is how do we develop and retain them? And so that way they can be all that they can be for our students and their colleagues in this community. Pairing them up with a mentor just goes extensively into that development, into that ability to understand the practices that we engage in here in the Newington Public Schools, and supports their ability to be successful. And so I want to share with you a few of the mentors that are online with us tonight who are able to join. We have Ken Bell, Krista Cody, Andrew Curtis, Amy Inzero, Taryn Kutnutsky, Elizabeth Mojica, Andrea Obert-Hahn, Jamie Pitkin, and Soren Sim. And these folks just really go above and beyond each year when they take on a mentor or when they become a mentor to a beginning educator here in the Newington Public Schools. And it's not an easy task. So to achieve this, they have to engage in over 24 hours of coursework to get certified for it. And then they have to go into refresher courses every few years to keep that up. And then they have to set up times where they're going to meet with their mentee weekly throughout the year, throughout 2 years, which they commit to when they do take on a mentee, and support them through all the questions that they have, but the curriculum, managing colleagues, managing different things that come up with students, with families, and all the tasks that you can imagine go on for an educator new to the Newington Public Schools. So for all they do, I'm so happy that they are being recognized this evening. We would not be able to sustain without them. So thank you all our mentors out there. We appreciate you greatly.
Do any of our mentors want to say anything? Any takers? All right, I can open up to board comments. Ms. Weaver.
You know I have to say something because I say this, I think this is like the 5th time I've gotten to, and this is one of my favorite recognitions because I think this group is, I call it like the NFL first string, top tier lineup of teachers. I have had the pleasure of having many of you. My sister has had the pleasure of having many of you, and our family is eternally grateful for you as students. But you go above and beyond being just teachers. You are mentors to other teachers. You are making sure that what you have fostered and students is fostered in those next generation of teachers that are going to be teaching the next generation of students. I cannot thank you enough for the time and effort that you put into this that is above and beyond the daily. Not that you would expect anything less from the wonderful NPS teachers that we have. But truly the work you do, and now having so many of my friends who you taught be educators and know how rough it was going in, especially with many of them starting during COVID. The work you do is so meaningful. And I just am so grateful that you continue to just put incredible effort into our students, but incredible effort into our teachers as well. Thank you for putting in the support for not only those who are sitting in front of you in the classroom, but also those who are standing next to you in the classroom. So thank you so much. And of course, congratulations on this well-deserved recognition.
Mr. Sharma.
I just want to thank all the mentors, and I just want to share the personal story. When my wife started teaching in Hartford, she was a science teacher, and she also had a mentor, and I think that was it was a game changer that really helped her, get used to the district and all the hours they spent with her. So thank you for what you do, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Holleran.
Again, just to echo all the thank yous. I think when we talk about how our school system is a community and we're a bit of a family. I don't think there's a better way to get across that feeling of family by having somebody take you under their wing and having a familiar face to help you through the good times and the bad times, because it can be a really challenging job sometimes, and to maybe have somebody walk you through some of those things and really understand what it means to be part of this school system. You can have the education, you can have the knowledge, but to actually understand the culture, that needs to come from within. And I cannot thank the mentors and the mentees enough for being able to foster that, because I think without it, we would struggle quite a bit to actually get across that DNA of what makes our school system our school system. So thank you.
Ms. Yacht?
I also want to echo what everyone else says. I just thought in my head, like, I wish every job had a mentor or mentee. We're so fortunate with that, what Sam said, thank you for sharing that story about your wife. I think that's an amazing thing that she had that opportunity. Like I said, I wish I had that, but we're so grateful to have this at NPS school system, that we have this to help the teachers and the staff and even the students, just, in general, just having this in place, I think sets us aside from other, districts and makes us the great school system that we are. So congratulations and thank you.
Yeah, and thanks, Mr. Freese, for pointing out the, it's not just you're a teacher and you can be assigned a mentee. You have to go through training and understand how to be a mentor. So thank you to all of you who put in that that additional time and effort into doing that and volunteering for 2 years to be a person that new to teaching or new to the district can trust, and you can be there for them. So it's definitely a well-deserved recognition, and we appreciate everything that you're doing for our new to Newington teachers. So thank you. And last chance for anyone else. All right, thanks so much, everyone. And our last recognition of the evening, but certainly not least, is our board student representatives. We have Isabella and Megan here. You can come up. We have certificates for you. So our student reps are elected, right? Elected during the student council elections. And we appreciate all the updates that you give and all of the just bringing the school happenings to our meeting, and you even go to the elementary and middle schools as well. So we definitely appreciate all of the work that you've done and the time that you spend coming here and filling us in, and then your involvement in the school, obviously. So thank you so much and congratulations. Yeah.
Oh, we're speaking. Okay. Well, thanks, guys. I mean, we love coming here, and we do love all of you guys. Thank you for being so welcoming for us. When we first started, we were a nervous wreck. We were really quiet, but now I feel like we're free to say what we need to say, and we just really want to thank you guys for everything you guys do too. So thank you.
Ms. Weaver?
Well, I didn't know when we were going to do Love Fest for them or not, because they have a report later too. These girls are.
Do it twice.
We're doing it twice, but I just want to say, both to Isabel and Megan, I think it took us forever to actually meet, because we were either I was in Zoom or you were on Zoom. But once we finally met, it was great. And I just want to thank you both. You're really just, we had some discussions earlier today during strategic planning about Portrait of a Graduate. And I think you really embody that of what we want Newington public school students to be. And so thank you for always setting an example, not only for other students, but just for the community at large. And I think your involvement in so many things is crazy and insane, the amount that you do, the talent you both have, particularly with the drama programs, but just in general, your ability to articulate what's happening in the schools and your preparedness for these meetings. Just really I admire the work that you do and how you present yourselves. So I'm very excited about your future plans and excited to follow you guys when you come back here and sit at this board table just a little closer this way.
Miss Beatrice.
It's been really a pleasure working with you guys, and I'm struck by what you said. You are part of us, actually, and we are so grateful to have you. Your reports are very, very, very thorough, and my kids are out of the public schools, so you guys are my link to the schools and what's happening, and the breadth of experience in the clubs and the sporting events. All of that makes our school district something that we all work very hard for, but we're very proud of, and you guys are a perfect example of that. So thank you so much for your preparedness, your humor, delivering some of our news. And I'm just so grateful for the time that you have given to us because it is so important. You are our eyes and ears on the ground, and we couldn't do what we need to do without you guys. So thank you so much.
Congratulations, Mr. Holleran.
I mean, I can't not say thank you. You're the students. Like, you're why we're here. I will say, though, that it is very easy when you're a high school student to use your time foolishly. I had fallen victim to that. Many of my friends did. You have made good choices and have not. And you have put in the work, a lot of work and a lot of stress. I can't thank you enough for the time that you spend to do this. It is vital to what we do. If we don't have your voice, we don't make good decisions. Echoing what Jess said, you will be successful no matter what you do at this point. You will make your hometown proud no matter where you go. And I can't wait to see all that happens. And my fifth grader and my third grader would just think you two are the coolest, just the coolest. I don't even have to tell you to make us proud. You will. Thank you.
Congratulations, and thank you. Oh, Mr. Sharma.
I just want to quickly thank both of you for stepping up and, being leaders. And are you both seniors or? Oh, okay. Are you senior? All right. So, good luck with the future. And, thanks for doing everything that you do. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Miss Yap.
I just want to say thank you as well. Honestly, listening to the reports, and I've been out of high school for a long time, just to let you know, it allows me to live vicariously through you. I feel like I'm still in high school. I'm like, oh, it's a sporting event. Oh, it's this. Like, I know, I get excited, right? Just want to let you know. So thank you for having, such, I love your enthusiasm. I love your energy when you come in here. You guys are always so positive and upbeat and uplifting, and it helps uplift me as well, just to let you know, and everyone else here. So I want to say thank you for all you do. We really appreciate you. And, it's nice to see you. And I saw you earlier too. But yeah, I mean, good luck with your futures. Please stay in touch. We obviously want to hear from you. We want to know what's going on, but thank you again. You are appreciated and we value you. So thank you.
Mr. Newton.
I spent the greater part of today with Pam and Bella, but mostly Pam.
Megan.
Hmm?
Megan.
Oh, Jesus, I killed your name. I'm sorry. Megan. I'm in another world. Long day today, but yeah, who was Pam? But an idea we were bouncing off our heads today that I'd like Dr. Brummett to consider in the future is a subcommittee that would be a forum for students at the high school to come and speak to the Board of Education with their concerns, not necessarily skirting the chain of command and who the principals are and everything else. But I think that it doesn't hurt to have new and fresh ideas and concerns that are coming up with the kids at the high school level because they have a different set of needs. So I just think that could be a good legacy.
Thanks. Miss Carr.
Just going off what everyone said, you can tell how much time and effort you put into every report. It was so detailed. I was getting winded just listening to some of them. It was a pleasure watching you guys in Mamma Mia. And Isabella, you mentioned your interest in law. I think you're going to be great at that. You mentioned that today at the table, and I can't wait to see what both of you do.
Thank you. I think that's everyone. Thank you. We'll hear from you a little bit later on. All right. So now we're moving on to public participation on any matter related to board responsibilities. If you're online, you can raise your hand. If you're in the room, you can come up to the end of the table and hit the button on the microphone to speak. and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Mike Phelps and I live at 108 Tremont Street in Newington. I've held the position of the Vice President of Softball for Newington Little League the past 3 years, and I have coached my daughter's team the last 7. I'm here tonight to ask the board to review options regarding offering middle school sports. As part of Little League, we play several surrounding towns, and I've seen towns with middle school sports teams. Generally, these towns play very competitively, and I believe it would be beneficial not only to our younger athletes at the middle school level, but also for our high school teams as well, to have this as an offering. I've pulled our teams from the spring, and there's definitely interest from current players. I really don't believe this would impact existing youth league participation rates as we play later in the weeknight and already schedule around middle school sports. I've seen girls play both rec and middle school at the same time, so I don't see that as a problem. I reviewed the districts in our DIRG as referenced in prior budget meetings, and I found that more than half offer middle school sports from looking at the CIAC website, particularly our surrounding towns such as Berlin, Rocky Hill, and Cromwell. I have encouraged players and their families within our softball program to share their feedback with the board on this idea. I don't believe personally this would be an overly costly idea to trial. It could just be 1 or 2 sports initially, and they could look to reuse like possibly past equipment from the high school teams. And yeah, that was it. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. No one's ever gotten a round of applause for public participation. Yeah.
I'd just like to add to what he said. When I was in junior high school in West Hartford, we had 4 junior highs. We played Martin Kellogg. They had a team way back. We won't go back that far, but it's a long time ago. And he was right. I mean, they're at that age where it can be advantageous to keep them organized and concentrated. And it's a minimal cost. I mean, of course, there's transportation or whatever costs, but we look forward to playing Farmington Robbins Middle School. We look forward to playing the Berlin. I mean, before you even got to the high school, you knew who the enemy was. So, you know, but it's a good idea. We need activities for our youth in town.
Okay,
so.
yeah, so, yeah, we can discuss, possibly as a future agenda item, for sure. Is there any other public participation? All right. Yeah, back into our standing committee report. So we have our student representatives.
Hi, guys. I know it's been a really long time since you've heard from us. Yeah, Pam's ready. Okay. So we're going to start off with past events. We had our AP exams all of last week, and this week they were finishing up. Actually, today was the last day. Senior prom was last week on May 10th at the Aqua Turf. It was lovely. Junior prom was Friday, May 3rd, and had it at Quasi. Bella and I actually attended the strategic planning meeting today, held at the high school, and we just want to say thank you for inviting us because we felt it was really insightful for like teacher standpoints. Like we got to see their side, and they definitely asked us our opinions, and we really felt heard, and we appreciated the invite. So thank you for having us there. We had I know it's been so long, we had our April vacation from the 8th to the 12th. The World Language Honor Society induction was April 17th. Latin students went to the annual State Latin Day Convention. And Isadora, I'm going to mess up this last name, but I'm going to try. Doris, I think. She put together a donation drive that helped collect items for the flooding in Brazil. So I thought that was just really important to note. For upcoming events, graduation's coming up. It's June 14th at the Oakdale. Incoming freshman parent night is May 20th from 6:30 to 8 in the cafeteria. High schoolers will be going to the middle school during the day on May 20th to present and talk to the middle schoolers about the adjustments going into high school. The Scholars Breakfast will be held on the 22nd of May. The next theme Thursday will be May 23rd, and it'll be Tropical Day. The Athletic Awards night is on May 23rd. AM and PM Awards will be on the 28th of May, and the senior outing will be on May 31st, and it was and still is planned to be at Powder Ridge. However, a poll was sent out recently to potentially change the location either back to Brownstone or going to the beach. So we'll see how that goes. The National Honor Society induction will be held on June 4th, and final exams for all 9th through 12th grade students will be from June 10th to June 14th. As far as performing arts goes, the orchestra concert was on May 7th. One of their pieces included some students from the wind ensemble, so it was nice to bring everybody together. Band had their concert on May 9th. The performing arts banquet will be on June 3rd. There will be a lip sync battle this year, brand new. We're both participating. We are. It's okay. The top prize is $150, so why wouldn't we? The senior one act is actually happening tonight. It's a student-directed and produced play by two of our very own seniors, Gabriela Mephistus Duran and Stuart Nunez, and they're putting on Rideshare Overshare. And Summer Band Academy has opened to high school volunteers going into 11th grade, 12th grade, or will be a new graduate to be a camp counselor to 5th through 10th grade band students, ran by our very own Mr. Bell, who, as I'm sure you know, is the band director of Martin Kellogg. Clubs. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm like really energetic today. Diversity Club is celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month throughout the entirety of May. Stop the Stigma is they had their Mental Health Awareness Week this week with spirit days like Free to Be Me Monday, Twin Tuesday, Wear Green Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thoughtful Thursday, which is teal and purple, and Fun Friday, which is PJs. And also, I just wanted to address how they were selling T-shirts and sweatshirts, and it's really hard to get anyone to sell, buy anything at the high school, and they sold out. And all the proceeds go to, well, I don't know, all, maybe some go to club. I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on that, but they go to help mental health organizations. So, book club is reading 3 Things I Know Are True by Betty Cully, and they will have their last meeting on May 29th. DECA went to their International Career Development Conference hosted in California. Sarah Aldridge was one of the medalists at the conference, and they launched new merch for the school store. FBLA took a trip to NYC to visit the financial district, along with touring the Empire State Building, engaging in scavenger hunts, and exploring the big city. Link Crew, the new club that helps create support systems for new students, is having their first training on May 23rd to prepare the Link leaders for freshman orientation and activities they will run for next school year. And also, I just want to touch on, if you have a student that's going to be in 9th grade next year, or you know someone that has a student that's going to be in 9th grade next year, I'd really recommend going to the parent night on the 25th. Yeah, because Link Crew is going to be there, and Stuco and other students, and there's going to be a panel and a lot of information. So I think it's just a really great way to get that information. Sports, we had some great wins and senior nights this week. Girls tennis won against Rocky Hill 7-0. Baseball won their doubleheader and had their senior night. Girls softball won their game against Conard. There's a fall sports open house on Monday, May 20th in the high school CAF for incoming 9th graders. I'm pretty sure those are different times. And if you're looking to go to some sports games in the next couple of days, boys lacrosse has their senior night at home against Farmington tomorrow. And also girls golf has a match against Hall tomorrow. And Friday, girls tennis is playing Weathersfield, also at home. And I'll talk about my schools. Martin Kellogg has their spring concert tomorrow at 7 at the high school. On the 20th, 5th grade will have their ropes course field trip. The band concert is at 6:30 on the 23rd, and 5th grade has a field trip to the CT Museum of History on the 28th. And we weren't able to find any information on Wallace, so we're gonna go into Board of Ed reps next year. They weren't able to attend because they're at the one act. They're in the one act. They're in the one act. But the Board of Ed reps for next year, I'm moving on to be a social chair, which works with Spirit and homecoming and stuff. I do really like this position. That's not why I'm moving. But senior Board of Ed rep will be Michael Forey, and junior Board of Ed rep will be Abigail Pratt. Some of you may know Michael because he was Eddie Pepper's friend in Mamma Mia. And Abigail makes these beautiful props in the musical. And then we just wanted to leave here with some recommendations, maybe for next year, some things we can maybe do. So, you know, as Mr. Newton was saying, maybe have some guest speakers at a couple of the meetings next year to talk about issues they experience firsthand and what problems they face every day. We come to you with these reports and we tell you like what's going on in the high school, but it's hard for us to bring issues like that we should address with you guys because we're not the ones facing them like every day, like day to day. So I think maybe some people, like maybe having an open forum at all of the schools so that everybody can submit like, you know, things they want to address and maybe fix going forward, just so you can actually hear from people who experience it like firsthand. And we were also, it's so funny that Mila was here. We were talking about opening up the student representative time to the middle schools. So we try to keep up with the middle schools as much as we can. However, we're not in the building, just like you guys, and we can't know everything that's going on in the middle schools at all times. We personally have no idea the issues the students are facing at middle schools, and we think it'd be better to hear from them directly as opposed to us. I mean, we don't know if there's ever been like talk of that or if that's ever been brought up. But we can't ever know like exactly what's going on, even if we had like a meeting once a month. Things happen. So maybe it would just be better to start, you know, maybe once a month. We do this once a month. Maybe, you know, every so often just having somebody who's willing to come and talk to you guys about problems at the middle school or even the elementary school. So we just like to leave you with that. Is there a final word?
Oh, wait, no.
Oh, no,
sorry. Sorry, I'm going to talk a little more. Yeah, that's what. We also just want to talk about like how we didn't bring up many issues. We do regret that, and we are going to make it a point to next year's representatives. But we also wanted to say, like, specifically for next year, so we'll carry this on. If you guys ever have any questions about like something you're implementing into policy, and you want to know students' input, we're great to ask. And then also, I just wanted to thank you guys. I really, really like this position, and I'm gonna be back here for at least the first one, or if you guys want me. But like you guys are in very good hands, and I'm gonna be making sure they're all set up. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I'm not gonna not say things. Come on. Just once again, thank you. As I said, it's incredibly thorough. Seriously, like typed up reports. Look at where we're at. Who would have thought? And it's funny. I was just thinking back. My best friend, she was board of ed rep when we were in student council, and I was treasurer, and then I was president. And I honestly had no idea what she did. I was like, I don't even know what the Board of Ed does. She was like, yeah, I got to go to like the town hall. And it was the old town hall. And she's like, I got to go to this like dingy room. And I just like sit in the corner and kind of do this. And I just take notes. And, you know, no one really kind of gave thought to it. And so I want to say thank you so much for coming and really taking this position with fidelity and being able to actually, you know, embrace what this is, even if you're only here for a portion. I think it's really helpful because I wish I knew more about being involved in this capacity when I was your age, because it's just so important to have your voice heard. So one, thank you for the recommendations as always. And we really do take that into account. And I just want to say thank you because I value that. And I also want to say that Megan, Pam, is you can tell her where her talents will go because sneak peek, I said, I'm going to ask you, what's your future plans? Because we always like to know and wish you luck. So if you want to just give a little bit.
Well, I do like to talk, so next year I am going to Naugatuck Valley Community College in the fall. I'm going to be doing a year of who knows. I'm stuck between two majors right now. I'm either going to do hospitality or stick with theater. And then depending on that, I'll either go to the Culinary Institute of America or I'll go to Marymount Manhattan.
And that, my friends, is a portrait of a graduate. Um, but thank you guys so much. It really has been a pleasure. And thank you again for representing Newington as it should be. And we look forward to, once again, you visiting and all that jazz, but also you ushering in the next ones. There's been a couple of student reps and everyone has just been so wonderful, and every time it gets better. So thank you for adding to those improvements. And I'm just really excited to hear more from you guys. So thank you. And we'll miss you.
Anybody else? I'll just say thank you so much for the recommendations that you brought forward. You're always welcome to come. If you're gonna be local, you can come anytime, participate in public participation. We would always love to hear you, and any student for that matter. The floor is always open for anyone. So if you I like the idea of, having an open forum or having, guest speakers of that nature, but the floor is open for anyone, beginning and end of every meeting. So definitely pass that information along. I will be at the high school for a long time, it seems, on May 20th, because I have an incoming freshman who's also interested in fall sports. So it'll be a long evening, and I'll see you there, Bella, I'm sure. But I will pass on the, just to encourage her friends and everyone that we know to come, because it does sound like a very informative night. I know the school counseling department is going to put on a program for the students, right, as well as tours and stuff for the parents. So definitely excited about that. It's going to be a very new adventure for me and my family. But thank you guys for being here, and Bella, thank you for ushering in the new crew, and Megan / Pam, thank you, or congratulations on your decision to save a little money and go local, and then figure out what you want to do, because I think that's super important. We talked at a previous meeting that with the career, there's so many different options, and Newington opened your eyes to what's out there. And so hospitality, which I know you're super into the food, and then the drama, obviously. So you have a bright future ahead of you, and good luck making a very tough decision. And Dr. Roma, did you want to say something?
Yes, it's been a delight to get to know both of you. I've seen you obviously around the board table, but also at school activities, most recently the prom, which was lovely and a lot of fun. But yeah, please understand, I think you've done a fabulous job, and I do think you have raised some issues here. So thanks for setting the table and providing these additional suggestions. And I know Bella's actually going to start a club next year for freshmen. I know that would bear repeating. If you want to give us a quick blurb on that.
Okay, so basically it's called Link Crew. I learned about it at a leadership conference, and I know many schools around us have it. And it's made to support the freshmen and new students. So I don't know if you know hallway helpers, but the counselors were kind of running that alone. And so my advisor is Miss Resendez, a counselor at the high school. So we're absorbing that program with hallway helpers and making it so they have more resources to find students that can help it, and giving more of a support system for freshmen. So having role models go, so seniors going to their advisories, and just making sure every freshman has someone in the building they feel connected to.
Thank you so much. Thank you for starting that. And thank you. I will miss you. Good luck. See you at graduation.
Yes. We'll see you at graduation.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Please take your name tags.
Wait, do they take the full thing or just the name tag?
I can have the whole thing.
Okay.
Listen,
generous.
it's fine. Thank you.
They're not that crazy. They're not real gold.
Oh, good. Okay.
All right. And then we have, I don't know, Ms. Weaver, if you want to have an update from your policy committee meeting on May 9th.
Yeah, sure. And I think we'll kind of get to it at a later time. Maybe that might make more sense. We can talk about it. But just wanted to also just give an update that all of our, we'll have Mr. Farisi give the update too, but all of our policies are actually on our website as well now. So they've all been migrated thanks to Steve Farisi. But yeah, we discussed a couple of the policies, and those will be up for discussion later in the agenda. So I think we'll talk about that business then, if I'm missing anything now. Members, no? All right.
All right, cool. New business. We have an update on our MOA, Memorandum of Agreement Scheduling Committee. Mr. Farisi.
Sure, thank you so much. And I'd love to invite Jen to come on up to the table as well. For those of you who don't know, Jennifer Rodriguez is a first grade teacher at Anna Reynolds Elementary School. And so she is also a critical part of the team that worked on this. And so it was a combination, if you recall back, I think in February 21st at the board meeting there, I shared with you that we were engaged in a memorandum of understanding with the union to be able to work together on the scheduling, primarily at the elementary level, to be able to look at some of the concerns that have been brought up over the years and see what we could do to address some of those. So instead of embedding those immediately into the contract that was recently passed and negotiated with the NTA, that'll go into play July 1, this coming July 1. We decided that it would be smart for a committee to get together and really review some of the concerns and start to put our heads together and see what we could do. So we did that. And at that time in February, I came to you and said, we need a little more time. It's a little more complex than we had thought. And so you graced us with that opportunity to have a little more time to work on it. And so we did. And I was able to call together a number of the elementary principals, Mrs. Wendy Kraus, who kind of oversees the elementary level as well. And then be able to work with the Newington Teachers Association team as well, and really start to put together some responses to some of the concerns, and that's what you have before you tonight. So this memorandum of understanding addresses approximately 10 concerns and items that we kind of looked into and what the solutions would be. And we've worked with all the elementary principals. Most of it pertains obviously to scheduling and building out a schedule for the upcoming school year, so the 24-25 school year. And so they now realize some of the things that we want to consider and make sure that we look at prior to building that, so we can address some of the staff's concerns with the schedules. Jenna, I'll pause there and see if there's anything you would like to add or highlight.
I think you definitely summed up the initial process. The contract language was such that it looks a little bit different for elementary compared to the middle and high school. And though we understand that at the high school, they might have, 100 or so students. We have about 5 to 6 different preps for the 20 students that we have in front of us and the different academics that go along with it. So the time and trying to make sure that it's, kept sacred so that we're able to use it effectively to support our students and prepare for our lessons was really important to us. And as Mr. Farisi said, the two groups came together to really discuss what was impacting that time. And then I think they did a nice job, which I'm sure you'll be speaking about shortly, of taking that back to the admins in general and having those conversations around that to collectively come to agreements and decisions. And at its core, there's a lot of communication that was allowed to happen in those meetings. And I think that was a theme that's going to be echoed moving forward in kind of getting every staff member on the same page through communication and better understanding of what everything means and how things will move forward.
So I would take it from there and continue to say that our goal would not only be to embed some of the solutions that we came up with here into the schedule moving forward, but also to be able to clearly communicate that opening up next school year. So all principals, as Jen just referred to, will clearly communicate that with their staff. I will be communicating it. I think the committee unanimously voted that I would create a video, so the message would be streamlined and consistent. And there's a lot of edits in that video, just so you know, and I might have to borrow some highly skilled people to help me with that. But But yeah, so we will communicate it to all staff, so that way they're keenly aware of some of the changes. But I think what's most important to highlight, and I think Jen mentioned it, was just the open communication and the great dialogue that occurred between administration and the NTA. And we just, value that partnership and that opportunity to work together collaboratively to come up with solutions when we see opportunities to. And not everything we can solve perfectly, and always the way that each party might want to, but we know that when we bring our heads together and our minds and we just are open about solutions, that we come up with ones that at least move us to the next level, and we'll keep doing that to hopefully continuously improve. And that's always our goal. So we're thankful for that.
Yeah, I would go on to say, being very reflective in the conversations and even moving forward in the planning, understanding that, yes, we're going to put these things into place and administration is going to be working to have these things set up for the start of the year, but we'll also be reconvening to review and see how those things have worked out, and to see if any other adjustments need to be made. So we do appreciate that open dialogue and that ability to continue to have those conversations moving forward.
So without going into every item one by one, we know that you've received this previously. We would just pause there and offer any opportunities for any questions that you might have.
Miss Yap.
Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Freese, just under the memorandum of agreement on the last page. Well, this backside, where it says the board, and it defines it as the Board of Education members and association, the following. You see the first line where it says the board and association shall establish a committee. Each party shall appoint 3 members. Or do they mean like political party, or do they mean like, what do they mean by each party?
Thank you for asking that. So that was, that is the committee we're referring to. So 3 members of the Newington Teachers Association and 3 members of administration.
Okay, just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
Miss.
Quick question, just on, I think, item 1, when it says staff on duty will escort students back from recess. Can we define staff on duty? I just want to make sure it's not teachers.
I'm sorry?
Just make sure it's not other teachers.
Well, that's a great question. Sometimes it is.
Right.
So that's why we left it at staff, and we didn't designate a certified staff member versus non-certified potentially, because to and from sometimes are different individuals, and it could be one of either. So we want to make sure about that. So that'll be kind of articulated well to everyone.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that they get their full 25 minutes of lunch, which is still not a ton of time, takes 5 minutes.
30.
30. I was going to
30.
take 5 minutes to microwave a lean cuisine in and of itself, so.
And
okay.
you'll see in other parts also that we talk about making certain that we, close out the instructional time with a buffer to be able to get to where you need to, so that you don't lose that time specifically. And those are some of the clarifications that need to occur in the messaging that goes out. Because I think, people are great and sometimes they're very type A, right? And we go right to the minute before we were supposed to leave the classroom. And then by the time we get down there, it's 5 minutes later. And now I'm eating away at all my time to eat lunch, and no pun intended. But so we will clarify all that, but I appreciate that question.
I was at Ruth Chafee for a Girl Scout event right before this, and I timed myself to get to the art room to the door. It was a full minute. That's 1 minute there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions?
Just a note, in item 1 at the bottom, it does say 25 minutes, so that's a typo, right? Because they do have the full 30 minutes.
Sure. Yeah.
So the 25 minutes is in reference to the recess time, which is our 25 minutes of planning, not the lunchtime that you were referring to. And typically we pick up our students, all the teachers pick up their students and walk them from the cafeteria to your classroom to get all their things, and then take them out to recess and deliver them to the recess area. And then your 25 minutes might begin, but that whole process takes a bit of time. So this was just to kind of clarify that whoever the recess duty teacher is and potentially lunch staff that day would be the ones who would be bringing the students down to allow you to have the full 25 minutes if that's what your planning period is for that day.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's not your lunch, that's your planning, and you also have an additional 30 minutes for lunch.
Yes.
State mandated,
Yes.
which we're happy to give you. Ms. Weaver?
I just wanted to say thank you to both of you, and then obviously representative. Sorry. Ms. Parati and I were on the negotiating side for Board of Ed, and this was obviously one of the top items, and I think obviously one of the things that we were eager to hear resolution on. So I'm glad this is kind of the first step in doing that. And just curious if each one of those items about the data, like how that's getting collected, is each item getting a data point or a couple of data points? Like, I just want to make sure we're obviously implementing this with fidelity. So just curious how that looks and how we assess that moving forward. Obviously, this is the plan, but want to be able to hold accountable the implementation.
Right. So once we're able to provide the clarifying language to everyone consistently and then implement it in, we did decide as a committee that we would do a survey to staff. And there was also a discussion, like we'll do a physical survey, but also opportunity to chat with people too and hear any concerns that are brought forward or celebrations that are brought forward. Like, yeah, it's working great. You know, those types of things. So it'll be, opportunity in a survey, anonymous survey, but then also an opportunity to share with your reps at your building, your administration.
And thank you for clarifying data entry time. Appreciate that for our needs as well. But yeah, just thank you both, and especially to please thank on our behalf the committee members for putting in the extra time again and effort to help resolve this issue. So, and thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you for having Mrs. Rodriguez come to the table. I think it's great to have a real life educator here sitting at the table to share your opinions, and thank you for participating in this committee. Are you satisfied? I know we talked over the summer about, a lot of items in the contract, and this being a big one with the time that you have, and as an elementary teacher, like you said, you have 20 students, but you're teaching everything, versus at the high school level, they have 100 students teaching possibly the same thing, or, different varying levels. But are you satisfied with the resolutions that have come forward about this? You're here, so I might as well take advantage of it.
Thank you. I would say that the committee is really grateful for the opportunity to have these conversations and bring some resolution, clarity, and communication to the staff, and the continued work moving forward. I think initially when we came to the table, we were hoping to have it be similar to the high school and the middle school. We understand structurally that doesn't always happen. So having this opportunity to kind of clarify things and ensure that there's some opportunities in here, and having our, new video star here, about scheduling, Steve and scheduling, I think should be the titling, for it. So we do appreciate it. And I think time will tell. As we are reflective and we continue to, come to the table and have these discussions. But overall, I think it's been a positive experience. And we're looking forward to continuing to have these conversations moving forward.
Awesome. Can't wait to see the video. Hope we can present it, put it on YouTube. Thank you so much. All right, our next item is discussion possible action on the use of school building fees.
Thank you very much. Each year, the board has the opportunity to set the increase for the building use fees that we charge. And as a reminder, these fees then get deposited into the board CIP accounts. But I would like to ask Mr. Jacomowitz to comment on his recommendations based on the financial profile that we've already thought through for the district for next year. So, Mr. Jacomowitz.
Good evening, everyone. The building use fee that is typically passed in May or June each year is reflective of what's happened economically to the board's operating budget. If we have a 3% contract rate increase for the labor and trades group, which is typically the custodial costs that help support the building use, that would become the baseline for an increase in the rate. We do take into account things that are of extreme nature, like if we had the cost of toilet paper triple in a year, we might, add 0.5% for something like that. But typically it follows the labor cost trends and the benefits that go with it. So I know for last year, when this was being reviewed, for this year's rate, 4% was the number that was agreed upon. And that was with the escalating ASME contract for coming up for this year, as well as just the general 7, 8, 9% inflation rate that crossed everything that we spent money on that was in support of this. So as you can see from the chart, in the 2021 year, there was 0. That was really part of our nature of, not trying to add more burden to the community, since the buildings were essentially closed starting in March 2020. Was not determined that was a position the board wanted to take, and will continue it at 0. You can see 3 years of the last 5 we're at 2%. This year, right now, we're with 4% increase. With the numbers that are out there for cost increase and probable contract settlement, the 3 to 4% range is entirely appropriate to consider for the coming year, for 24-25. There's not been a dramatic movement in any of the other elements that we spend money on to support the community use of the buildings. So it's, from that standpoint, it's not terrible, but it's certainly not, a 0 where there's no cost increases that were incurred. The board does pay these costs out of the operating budget, which has to be budgeted for, but the revenues that come in are then directed to the board CIP account. So we have to have the resources within our budget in order to support the use of the building by the community groups. And once that money goes into the board CIP account, it's part of the reappropriation for the succeeding year, where whatever project profile and priorities the board decides that it wants to spend the funds available in the board CIP, that's what will be done with it.
Mr. Newton.
Why was there such a dramatic drop from 18 to 19 to 19, 20? Was it just because we went up to 2%, or did some vendor we had leave?
No, well, March 2020 March 12th started the pandemic. Everything was closed. So there were no building rentals.
No, I'm looking at 2018, 19 before the pandemic. Then a year
Correct.
later, it was 25.
Well, we're on a fiscal year, July 1st to June 30th.
Okay.
So we lost 1/4 of the year that year.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then there's next very low numbers. And that was primarily NECI, I believe, with their special daycare programs for the community that were the only ones really using our buildings. And it gradually recovered.
Ms. Beatrice, then Ms. Yap.
2 questions. Are we seeing any increase of usage requests? Or have the requests been static?
It's been steady. I can't say it's been high or low. These typically are all farmed out to the buildings. They run their own schedules. So I only get involved when there's a unique situation for pricing, or there's conflicts that need to be worked out. I wouldn't necessarily be part of the day-to-day routine. Using Cub Scouts want to come in, the military whist club, all those.
So that
routine-
baseline is consistent pretty
Yeah.
much from
Correct.
year to year to year as
Correct.
far as usage.
Mhm.
The second question I have is, are there any more costs associated with staffing? Are there additional, custodians needed? Are there additional other support staff that would impact this, or is that kind of the same baseline as we've been seeing all along?
There's really only 2 variables for personnel cost. One is custodial, the other is cafeteria. So if an organization wants to come in and host a meal at the high school cafeteria, we won't let them use the cafeteria without somebody there basically proctoring it for them. So there would be a cafeteria person on duty. The custodial help is all basically looked at event by event, to see how significant it is to determine if you need 1, 2, or 3 extra custodians. And certainly which day of the week it is. If they want to have Sunday activities, they're paying double time. than what's there. So, it really just follows the contractual rates, for,
Like it's been a consistent, there hasn't been a lot of wiggle room
No.
the last few years.
Right.
So this baseline is gonna.
this should be steady, yeah. I mean, 100 to 125,000 a year is a reasonable baseline.
Miss Yap?
Hi, Lou.
Hi.
So my question is, I was like, I see you twice in one day.
Mhm.
Okay, so I have a couple questions and I hope that's okay. The first thing is, I'm well aware of how this works. Obviously, it was again, finance committee and also being involved in many community events. You know, we've inquired and looked into this. First thing is, I know that in our budget, there was a supply line. You had mentioned something like, and I don't know if it was a hypothetical, so correct me if I'm using the wrong example. If the toilet paper goes up, but our supply, the increase in the supply budget went up in that category. It was in excess of like 50,000. So would that be a separate category than this or the same? Because when you had said toilet paper, we have a supply thing in the budget that's separate from this.
Right, that's all commingled for school operations as well as support of other outside, events.
Okay.
So it's just our best guess of how
What you
much.
think it is.
Yeah.
Second thing is, I want to advocate, you had said 3 to 4. I'm thinking, this is my opinion, more of 3. I know that like me being like, I'm a Rotarian and when community groups want to use the events, and seeing that it's flatline, right? We do pay for that custodian. It's not like it's in the group, it's in the price. So obviously, you know, depending on the group, if it's like a nonprofit or something, there's different rates, which we thank the school system for. But we do pay separately. So it's not that the school needs that money, like the organization is paying a separate fee for each of those things. So I know we've had some discussion with budget and I'm thankful that we didn't get a 0, obviously, right? But I don't know what your feedback is in regards to, yes, we did get a 4, but at that time, and I was here when we got a 4, that's when inflation just hit. And I know you had spoken to Miss Beatrice's question, like, is it steady? So I would honestly say, I don't know, can we do something between 3 and 4? Is that like a happy medium, 3.5? Not quite a 4, so it still shows that I don't want to go drastically lower because, I mean, I can't predict the future and I don't know what could occur, but I also want to ensure that the public also doesn't, you know, feel that too. So I'm thinking if we can maybe compromise and do something maybe in between, like 3.5, so therefore it's like a happy medium. Therefore, we're not as low as a 3 because I can't go as low as a 3 when we had a 4, but we are seeing something steady. So I think, I don't know if you consider that, but like kind of staying in the middle if possible. Just a suggestion, just because I feel like it would satisfy both sides, the public and us as a school system. Thank you.
Ms. Carr and then Mr. Sharma.
I'm not sure if we know the answer to this question, but how are our rental costs compared to other districts around us? My only concern is if we end up pricing things historically too high, people are just going to drive the extra time and go elsewhere.
There's not a lot of risk of that occurring. A lot of the groups are community groups. The organizations that want to run an event, like the high school for a Sunday event where they'll take it for 10 hours for a big 1,000-person festival for their cultural organization, they're not looking at other places. It's really a matter of what's fair for us. Now, you know, the balance of, yeah, the cost increases. So if you were saying, well, last year there was a 9%, 7% inflation increase, we really didn't get all of that. But if we want to catch up 1% on last year's inflation along with this year's real increase, those are reasonable positions to take. You know, certainly we're always trying to look out for the in-town organizations and try to take care of them to the best of our ability. And the way there's 4 different pricing schedules available. Schedule C and Schedule D are the primary ones for dealing with the public, either on a nonprofit basis or a for-profit basis. Those pricing baselines are already, I'm going to say, skewed to be favorable to the nonprofit organizations, but they are. And by the basic foundation cost that's there, it's very reasonable for the groups to get in to do events for themselves. So I wouldn't be overly concerned about any number that you wanted to pick between 3, 4, and depending on the general sentiment, if this is, everyone feels that it should be higher, and we can certainly justify a higher as well. You know, and just the years of doing this, we always tried to look out for the community first in our pricing schedule. And that really drives the recommendation that I gave you.
Mr. Sharma?
Hi, Lou, just a quick question. Could you just talk about, so when we get these fees, so the money goes into CI, to the capital improvement fund,
Correct.
right? So it does not go into the general budget. So when can we use that money?
Okay, so money that's coming in this year, the 23-24 school year, so July 1st, 23 through June 30th, 24. All of those receipts are available for reauthorization after July 1st. So if we get 125,000 this year, there's $125,000 available. Most of that is addressed in your budget that's created with the various project profiles. But if you have, some extraordinary events that came into town, you generated another $30,000 to $40,000 of receipts that you wanted to turn around into projects or rehabilitation work of the school district. We're free to present to the town council after January 1st a request to add to the appropriations within the fund, as long as there's enough money on the undesignated line. So it's a zero balance transfer. So when cash comes in, it goes into the undesignated line item. Then those get appropriated out of the undesignated line. If there's still additional money in the undesignated line later in the year, we're free to go back and propose additional projects if that fits the strategies of the board.
All right, so the money goes to the town, are you saying? And then it goes
to the town, but it is credited to the board CIP account.
So
the town's the banker for all of us.
So would it be easier if this fees would go into our operating budget and you don't have to go through the hassle of going?
You'd have to have a charter change to do something like that.
All right, so that's second question. In terms of like if somebody rents whatever room in our whatever schools, right? How is there a special fee for like custodial services, or how does that fee work?
It's determined based on the scope of the event. So like in a cultural event, they'll have 1,000 people coming on a Sunday at the high school for a big meal, dance, presentation, speeches in the auditorium, whatever the event is that the group is celebrating or commemorating. So depending on the number of adults, number of kids, if they're going to have a little play or a production with kids in it, you have all these things going on, they have to have some level of support. So depending on how many are needed, those become extras to the basic rate. If we can get by with one custodian, it's typically built into the rate. But when you get that big, that's not possible. Because we do have to have the building ready for the next school day. So if the thing breaks up at midnight, there's a couple hours of work for everybody to put the school back together again before Monday morning.
So we are basically billing folks who rent our whatever premises, right? We are billing them an extra charge for the
Yeah,
custodian.
and they have to pay a substantial portion up front. It's
Right.
not all on credit, and then we're chasing them. They have to, have a good faith, at least minimum 50% down. And if there's any concerns with their business stability, organizational stability, it's higher than that.
Because you mentioned like there was a 3% increase in custodian. Is that the contract for the custodians? What went up 3% in wages?
I'm sorry,
You said something about 3%. There was a.
Right,
there
when
was
the new contract is settled.
For what, for
absentee,
custodians?
we're, going into effect July 1st, 24. If that's 3%, somebody who's making $20 an hour will make $20.60 an hour. So we've got to pass that along in the rate calculations to the vendor.
So if the wages went up 3%, you did hike up the fees that you charge, the custodian fee. You do charge a custodian fee, right? When they rent.
Right, we'd be subsidizing the
It
organization.
did go up, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think my concern is like inflation is still high, so in my opinion, like we should probably keep it at 4%. And that's my opinion, so, thanks.
Did you want to just clarify the?
Yes, just to clarify the question about where the money goes. We did sign the MOU this year. It was myself and the town manager signed it officially a couple days ago. So now we are allowed to transfer some money from the board CIP into the operating budget. That's just for that life of that MOU, which expires on September 1st. There may be down the road an ordinance change to allow some of that money to be redirected routinely to the operating budget, but right now it's only at that component of the MOU. So we will be making transfers under that MOU this year, but that's a brand new thing that we just created to try to offset some of our operating costs.
Ms. Weaver?
Thanks, Lou. Just curious, right now it's looking like 2023. Do you think we're gonna be kind of like at pace or even with amounts coming in? I know that's as of
What is
229.
forecast for the rest of the year?
Yeah,
Probably 120 or 140,
Okay.
in that range.
okay. And then I guess, I mean, this is the thing I want to make sure, like, we're not just coming up with a number out of thin air, like, oh, whatever. It's just, I know there's not an actuarial formula for this likely. But just curious, like, how much a difference of a 3 versus a 4% is. I mean, I think we're already looking at, I mean, I'm not gonna say this is
$3,000
like
to $5,000 a year.
3 to
in
5,
total.
okay.
If you have $100,000 base and you go up 3%, it's $3,000 of additional revenue.
Okay,
presuming
so-
it changes, so.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking it's a de minimis amount. I'm not necessarily wed to anything, and I also don't want this to be a decision just made off of, you know, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, type of, I mean, I think I'm fine with, a 3 or a 4%. I think, obviously, we always talk about these, and I have been here for all of these increases, and I remember when it was shut down. And also just wanted to clarify, kind of piggybacking off of Mr. Newton's question. I think 21, we still had some kind of impacts of COVID
Yeah,
on
right.
the building.
Buildings are
Okay.
closed.
Just to see why those numbers are lower than prior years. I think it's almost like, yeah, let's get to pre-pandemic levels of 2018, 2019 level, is where we're at. And so, which is kind of crazy because costs have gone up still, and we're still kind of not getting the revenue. So I just kind of wanted to note that this isn't necessarily where we're making a lot of profit, or that, you know, this is something we do just to have profit in general. Like, this isn't the moneymaker or the one that's going to really change our budget drastically. That being said, it's still an amount. So I guess, like, Lou, in your shoes, just 3 or 4%, does it make a drastic difference? No.
Does everybody need a firmer recommendation?
What would you rate? Yeah, I would like a firm recommendation from you.
Yeah, in hearing the group, I think closer to 4% is appropriate because of the increases we did not recoup from last year.
Okay.
Were very high. But, you know, it all depends on the sentiment and the community presentation you want to have on this.
And just to be
Both have very
clear,
valid positions to take.
yeah,
If you want to split the difference at 3.5, that's fine too. This is,
does that make it more complicated?
no.
No.
Okay.
It's
I
math.
just wanna- no, I just
Ashley's
wanna-
really good
no,
at it.
I didn't know if that was just like, if who was calculating it besides Lou. Just want to make sure. Yeah, I'm good with whatever. Again, I think as I always say, in the past, all of these increases, we're part of the community. We want to look out for ourselves. We also want to look out for our community members. We don't want to have rob Peter to pay Paul situation where, you know, they're obviously paying for, you know, paying taxes and then also doing that. I know we have some community groups that are not based in Newington, so it's outside revenue. But I think it's just important to recognize, obviously, like, it's not a business we run, but it is. But also knowing that we are part of the community. So yeah, I think if 3.5 is the rec.
Yeah, one second. I just want to share my thoughts. The schools are open to nonprofit youth organizations in town for 0 fee. So there is, you know, and we definitely significantly appreciate the even before I was on the board, just having the opportunity to be in the schools, Girl Scouts. Sean, my daughter was there earlier today too. Missed the party, but and you know, there's so many organizations that the school does. We do cheer clinics for free too. So this, you know, the usage here is a small portion of the usage that the schools are getting. So, obviously if we're there past 8 o'clock at John Wallace, then we have to pay extra for custodian overtime and that kind of thing. So, I think that just knowing the community organizations that don't get it for free, and they are such a big part of our community, if the lower that we go, I think is better personally, in my opinion. Knowing the contract increase is 3%, I understand making up for inflation, but also just kind of want to, I don't know the numbers of like how often, how many hours the schools are rented for where they're paying versus a nonprofit or schedule, whatever the youth organizations, right? I don't know the percentage and makeup. So, toilet paper increase, it's probably negligible for the paying customers than it is for these other organizations. So I don't know, do you know that split? Like how
Well,
often?
out of that number, NECI's somewhere around $25,000 for their program. in
Right,
the
all four
rental
elementary
space to the-
schools. Yeah.
Over the course of the entire year. All of the park and rec costs to support weekend sporting events, nighttime basketball leagues, whatever they're using our buildings for, all of those costs get billed directly to park and rec. So we absorb the cost. They just transfer that cost back, so it's no impact on our operation.
Yeah.
The Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, all of the community type of organizations like that are all at no charge to start with. So there is no risk that you're really hindering a operation that really doesn't have any resources. The groups that come in that would be paying higher dollar amounts are the dance recital groups, because they'll come and rent one of the gymnasiums for $3,000-4,000 for Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday performance package for themselves. Children's theater is another one that utilizes the facilities. You have a number of these cultural organizations that are large. Initially, I was saying we probably have a half dozen events a year where we're getting 800 to 1,000 people at one of the schools. I'm not sure this year where we're at, but for a number of years, the startup church organizations would use the auditorium at the high school or one of the other schools to conduct their services on weekends. They change every year, so I'm not sure if anybody is in this year on Sunday mornings for that. But these end up being, high charge costs, because Sunday at double time, for a 3 or 4 hour gig is $300 or so for a custodian. So, there's not that many, this is definitely the 80-20 rule. You have 20% of your customers generating 80% of the revenue. And those are basically all the ones that, I can't say can afford it, but they're, not shying away from coming to us to rent it. So we're obviously, providing a fair service for the community.
Yeah, thank you so much for that elaboration. Miss Yap?
Okay, so I wanted to thank you for that, Amy, in regards to, just sorry, I'm like lost my train of thought now. Just recognizing that other organizations, I myself, and this is a personal thing, I'm a Rotarian. I'm also on the GWFC, General Women's Federation Club, and I know we look many times, and Dr. Bremen, I'm going to thank you for that. When we had needed to, I know we were trying to do breakfast with Santa and different things, and we had to look at things. And obviously, I'm going to tell you, Dr. Bremen was a huge help with things like that, because starting something that could be at like 6 o'clock in the morning and having to pay, but we also have to look at, these are, like, as a Rotarian, these are events we make $0 off of. So we're paying for these events, and everything we make goes directly to those organizations. On the women's club in town, we hold events and we don't keep any of the money. So when we're trying to struggle and fundraise, and then we have to pay fees and keep none of the money, because everything we do Shriners, we do different things. We want to make sure that, and I always advocate, and I'll say this, to keep things in our town, because sometimes you can go to New Britain or Weathersfield and it's a lot less expensive. But one of the things I want to say is, and I do thank Dr. Brumman of that, is anytime I've asked her, we have something to do for the, kids, Alex's Lemonade or something, she's always very helpful and always very, cognizant of keeping the costs low and working with us on the fees, because when you keep none of the money and everything's just going to that organization because you're helping a cause, maybe it doesn't look like 4 is a lot, but when you're not making anything and we're all volunteer, it does add up, just to let you know. And these are organizations I'm at in town. So it's hard for us to not want to use a facility, and we love the high school, because we have to look at, okay, if we take this huge percentage, that's a kid, we do childhood cancer that doesn't get help. So that's where it kind of, and this is on a personal level, where it kind of becomes a balance for us, because we don't keep any of the money. And we want to make sure that those extra fees, and of course we want to pay our custodians, of course we want to pay people, but the costs, also needs help, because it's not a direct thing of the school. So I do want to say thank you for that. And Jessica, thank you for pointing out what's the difference between the 3 and the 3 and the 4. But I do want to let you guys know, just being a part of those organizations, and I mean, we help collect prescription bottles for elderly and to get them medication. And sometimes I know it seems like maybe we should do something else to raise money, but we just don't have it. So we're doing all we can to just give to those organizations. So that's where in this community we want to kind of work on that, and those are organizations that are here. But I do want to say, we are so thankful to have these opportunities, to have a high school to use that. I don't know if every town does this, but the fact that Newington even allows it is huge for us. Opening at 6 a.m. is really nice, just to let you know, and having some of our members dress up as Santa, which won't be me. So, it's really awesome. But, the fact that we have that opportunity, and thankful again to the cafeteria staff to want to wake up at 5 a.m. and help us cook, because it's a lot of work. But yeah, so those are only some of the reasons. So I didn't want to just say it's not just the boys club. It is the Rotary Club. It is the women's club in our town. We don't make any money. Every dollar goes to the organization, but we still have to somehow justify, okay, this goes to the organization. We keep nothing. We are 100% volunteer, and we want to make sure that we can keep all of our activities. I've worked with the children's theater as well, keep them in our community. So yes, that's all I was telling you. Thank you.
Mr. Sharma, then Ms. Weaver.
Okay, Lou, just a quick question. So if there's a nonprofit that's based in Newington, if they wanted to hold an event, right, they want to use a building, do they pay anything, or is it free?
They would pay something, yeah.
What do you mean something? It's like a lower fee?
Based on the schedule. Well, the nonprofit schedule is not dependent upon being a business in Newington. It's anybody who has nonprofit status. So it's, formalized, tax status to get that. So if they're an organization from Hartford or from New Haven, they still would qualify on the same pricing schedule.
So any nonprofit, can actually rent our premises and they get a lower rate?
Yes.
They still pay a custodian fee, and they still pay?
Yes. Mhm.
And then if it's not a nonprofit, then there's a higher fee?
Correct.
And how much higher? Like 20%, 30%, how much?
Probably 60 to 70% higher.
And they still pay a custodian fee, right?
Some of them do, like you'll have the basketball
Depending on the
camps that
event,
want to
okay.
come in the summertime and rent the gym for a week for, and they'll just, fill it with the weekly memberships for kids who want to go.
All right, so thanks.
Okay.
Ms. Weaver.
Right, I think this has been helpful discussions. Thanks, Sue. I'm gonna move a motion. I think we should move the Board of Education, increase the building use fees by 3.5% for the 2024-2025 school year, effective July 1, 2024.
Second. Do that?
All right, motion second, discussion?
Just a quick question, Lou. So you mentioned basketball camp, stuff like that. Is the Morrison Community Center available for rent as well? And are those
Yes.
rates comparable?
I don't
If we
know. I
know.
don't, work on their pricing. That would be through the, Park and Rec Department and their guiding the Park and Rec Board.
Yeah, my concern is just that if we increase rates and they don't, and it's a lower cost, then we kind of
It
lose.
is not.
Yeah,
It's
I was gonna
not.
say, I highly
It's
doubt
not.
that.
I wasn't assuming it was, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask. That was it. Yeah, I would assume.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion to And a second, yep, motion and second to increase the building use fees by 3.5%. There's no further discussion. We can do a roll call vote.
Mary Beatrice,
Yes.
Yes.
John Halloran,
Yes.
Anthony Mailing,
Yes.
Timothy Newton,
Yes.
Friday,
Yes.
Sam Sharma,
Yes.
Jessica Weaver,
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, moving on to discussion possible action on our board meeting schedule for next school year.
Very good. Just a quick overview. They're projected on your screen. The board meets regularly on the second and fourth Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. right here in the Helen Nelson Room. Traditionally, we only hold one meeting in November and December as a result of vacations in both those months. So based on those variables, as well as kind of avoiding any other scheduling conflicts, especially any special holidays, we have crafted we recommend this list of board meetings on the memo that's before you. Thank you.
Ms. Weaver?
I did check. I was checking Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur before this. I was like, okay, here we go. We got it. Appreciate that. All right. I'm going to move the Board of Education approve the following meeting dates for the, oh, I'm sorry.
Well, we can do the motion and have discussion.
Yeah. Do you have something to change? Do you want to, I won't do the motion then.
Okay, Ms. Young.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica, for saying that, because I was going to ask if we checked holidays, but I do see we have one on September 11th. Will that be a problem? No? Sure? Okay, just wanted to make sure.
We can
And
have a
we've
moment
checked
of
all
silence.
holidays for. Okay, perfect. All right, sorry. Thank you.
Ms. Carr?
Sorry, one thing. I know we're saying the second and fourth Wednesday of every month. May 7th is the first Wednesday, and then it's a 3-week break. I'm just making sure we're noting that.
That is due to a conflict in my calendar relative to a conference. So yes, you did note that correctly, but it was intentional so that I would not, that I could be at the meeting, obviously.
I'm going to move it now. Okay. Move the Board of Education. Thank you, guys. Move the Board of Education approve the following meeting dates for the 2024-2025 school year. Here we go. September 11th, 2024, September 25th, 2024, October 16th, 2024, October 30th, 2024, November 13th, 2024, December 11th, 2024, January 15th, 2025, January 29th, 2025, February 12th, 2025, February 26th, 2025, March 12th, 2025, March 26th, 2025, April 29th, 2025, April 23rd, 2025, May 7th, 2025, May 28th, 2025, June 11th, 2025.
Second.
1985.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, we're voting for these dates that Jessica just read off really fast. Please call the roll.
Mary Beatrice,
Yes.
Brittany Carr,
Yes.
John Halloran,
Yes.
Anthony Mailing,
Yes.
Yes.
Friday,
Yes.
Sam Sharma,
Yes.
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 Thank you. Our next item is discussion possible action on policy 5145.131. Ms. Weaver, would you like to?
Would love to. Yeah. So I just wanted to kind of open this up. This was one of the policies that had a lot of discussion and a lot of concern. It was one that we took back. We talked with legal on, and I just wanted to note too, in your board packets, there is the legal opinion from Shipman and Goodwin, just on the next page too. This was originally, the intent was of the actual policy was to update for concerns about generative AI. But then public participation noted that there was concern about the verbiage regarding search and seizure of private technology devices, and we wanted to make sure that we, took in legal opinion as well as what the public was saying, and we know that was a concern. So, kind of what we discussed, and if we go into the actual policy itself, and this is again. And the verbiage originally is just taken from the New Jersey versus TLO opinion. It also notes that the relevance of the standard versus what's the actual situation when it comes to phones. And we know this is a little bit different than someone's bag or purse or something like that, which is covered in our current search and seizure policy that's been in place for many years. But I think what's important and what we really wanted to ensure that those reading this understood is that there are two conditions that need to be met. This is not a policy that would dictate anyone just like, we can't just take your phone and there's no reason, right? So we noted in the highlighted yellow, you can go up, Dr. Broma, sorry. In the highlighted yellow, we wanted to make sure it's very clear that two standards have to be met. It's not just having your device on school property. That doesn't make it okay for the device to be seized, so to speak. There needs to be reasonable grounds for suspecting that the search will turn up evidence that the student has violated or is violating either the law or the rules of the school. And again, that last paragraph, any search shall be reasonably related to the objective of the search. That is from the actual court opinion of New Jersey versus TLO. And then we also reference the actual search and seizure policy that's in place right now. But to go beyond that, we had a discussion about how this actually plays out. And I know Dr. Brummett at past board meetings has kind of discussed what that looks like. And then Mr. Farisi discussed this as well. And I think one of the things we really want to be clear about is the difference between policy and regulation. We as a board vote on policy. We do not vote on regulation. That being said, we work hand in hand with the administration about making sure that the spirit of the policy is implemented through the regulation. So I did ask Mr. Farisi to provide kind of a sample of what that regulation looks like, because one of the things that Dr. Brummett said is, it's not teachers that are searching their phones. It would be a police officer if that should come to be. But I also wanted to make sure she could expound upon it, but that you also had something written down that, is codified into what that regulation would look like. So again, this isn't something we would be voting on, the actual regulation, but I think it's really important because it really determines how that policy is implemented. Because that's really what we want to emphasize is that, we have differing case-by-case bases at differing schools. What a search and seizure in general looks like at an elementary school versus a high school is vastly different. What it looks like in a middle school is vastly different. What policies implemented at the high school in general look like are not necessarily the same as at an elementary school. And we want to make sure that it's conducive as an overarching policy to be applicable to the district, and then have regulation that is more applicable to the situations or the case-by-case bases that are needed for the situations at hand. So I think one of the things that is important is, and we took as well from one of the other previous policies was about what improper purposes of technology would look like, particularly when we're talking about display of pictures or photographs of depicting nudity, where there are things that would be in violation of the law or their school rules. And I guess I can just, before I end yapping, is just making sure that it's really clear that from our search and seizure policy as well, that you have to have reasonable suspicion, and that how this is doing it. And it's on the back of the last paragraph. It is just what the administrator will do, because I think it's important to know that if a student is unwilling to engage with, a student administrator will ask the student to show a suspected concern or violation on the device, and then if it's okay to search the device, and if the student does not engage with those, and there's still reasonable suspicion, the administrator can request access to search his phone, but that won't be done by a teacher. And I don't know if Dr. Brummett or Mr. Farisi want to elaborate on that more. Maybe I'll give it to Dr. Brummett and then Mr. Farisi can.
No, I believe you've covered it well. We asked the student, and by we, I mean the school administrators, if that student refuses, then we would decide if it was a police matter. And if the police were to get involved, then they have to get a search warrant. So they can't touch a student's phone without proper authority to do so. So again, following legal advice, following the policy, we are very much in tune to just cause, reasonable suspicion, and it is not something that we do without a significant concern. So
And also just bolded in this regulation is that the searching of a student's privately owned technological device is to be a last resort. This isn't something that's just willy-nilly, like, oh, we're just gonna go around and search devices. And I think we really want to make sure that that concern is alleviated, because I think in this day and age, it's just, there's a lot of fear and concern about a lot of different things, and making sure that we take the input of everybody on this, and making sure that, one, we keep our students safe, is obviously priority number one, and implementing policies that ensure that safety is critical, as well as making sure that we respect their rights and their privacy. So I think having a balance, making sure that this is fully codified and backed up by law, but also showing that there's regulation behind this and how that actually plays out. Obviously, again, a case-by-case basis is important. And I interrupted Mr. Freese before. If you had anything to add.
Not at all. You're fantastic in your explanation. So thank you so much. And I thank the team for their thoroughness in revising this policy and really listening to all the concerns and trying to build one that will be suitable for board operations. But I also just wanted to say in regards to the regulation, and I know the board doesn't vote on regulation, but it is a sample, and it really is just a draft. And to Ms. Weaver's point, now the draft is in the hands of the elementary principals, the middle school principals, the high school principals, so that way it can be reviewed. And what we would have is almost like 3 different versions of this as regulation. So at the high school level, at the middle school level, at the elementary school level. This was just a starting point to get everyone going, and then they'll adopt it to make it appropriate at those levels. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that.
Thank you.
Mr. Holloran.
Thank you. Thank you for creating the draft. It is helpful to see how it actually gets implemented. And I do like that you called out not only reasonable suspicion, but also reasonable in scope. I think that's a very important call out to make because it sets some clear boundaries. This policy would also apply to anything on a school bus, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments about this policy as it's presented? Okay, so I think the intention is to, or concerns. You all set, Ms. Yap?
Are we voting on this?
I think that, yes, that is the intention for tonight.
So I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, it's not been a surprise that I wasn't a fan of this policy. I think I've made that clear. But I am a little concerned in regards to if they decide they don't want to, then you get to decide if it's a police matter. What if we just decided that they can't have that device at the school, if that makes sense? Like, if I feel you or have something in your phone that's not appropriate, I don't know if making it a police matter how that would really play out or not play out, right? I mean, going to the event we were at today and just thinking about that and how that resonates in my mind, it kind of doesn't sit well with me because I don't know. I know a lot of kids nowadays, and I'm not saying all of them, they like to be defiant, right? They're like, I want this now. I mean, I have a 7-year-old, he says no. So I don't know. I think that's a little drastic. I think that just if I have a student who has something, I think, because remember, you don't know, there's no proof. I mean, what happens to just saying, well, now you can't bring this to school anymore? Because I feel that what's in your device may not be appropriate and you don't want me to see it, so you can't have it here, as opposed to making it maybe a bigger deal. Because I mean, like you said, it's different levels at different ages, but especially, like my son is in 1st grade, he says no for everything. I don't know why, can't figure it out, but he does. And you don't actually know what's in the phone. You could be wrong, right? That happens. But I would say, and I should have went to your policy meeting. I didn't, so this is my fault. I take full accountability. But I would say at the different levels, say, well, because you won't allow this, you can't have it here. You cannot have this thing that I feel like is violating our policy as opposed to being another. And I think for the middle school age, and we talked about that too, we see a lot of, that's that age where you're defiant, you don't know who you are, there's just so much going on. Just saying, if this smartwatch has something in it or my phone, now when you come back to the school, it can't be here. And follow up with the parents and say, I did feel that this was, something. And unfortunately, because your child chose not to, and we have this policy in place, they can no longer have it. And most of these kids, if they're walkers, if they're school parent, school bus, whatever, they have a safe way to get home, right? And you're not going to say, oh, not letting my kid go to school with a phone. Well, your kid has to allow this to be seen or they can't have it here. And then if it's seen here, we will take it and you can have it, but they can't have it here. But maybe escalating it to like a police matter might be excessive because the child just may be in a phase in their life or mental health could make a play and they just want to say no. Some kids just say no because they want to. And I think that's kind of drastic. So I think, and I don't want to keep fumbling on forever, but like just saying, take it away.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate those comments. And I think one of the things that's important is the word appropriate is not in here purposely. So it's not whether we think something is appropriate or not, it's whether we have reasonable suspicion to believe evidence of violation of the law. And I think what's important too is, as Dr. Rama just said, if we got police involved, they have to obtain a search warrant. So they also have to have reasonable cause to, and some sort of belief of evidence that there is violation of law, and that there is somewhat of something leading them to believe there's something in violation of law. Not that something is just, I don't think is appropriate for a middle schooler, or I don't think is appropriate. And I agree. I don't think, and I want to make this clear too, the policy is not for us. I don't think we want police involved in any matters. I don't think it's fun for any administrator. But I think what's important is the spirit of this is safety. If there is a concern that there is belief of evidence of violation of the law, board policy, or administrative regulation, which are codified into either law or regulation. I think what's really important is that that's a distinction between what we guess is appropriate, where this is, we believe there is evidence of violation. And I think what's also important is that the reasonable suspicion is not just a guess, it's that there's evidence likely to believe us to point to that. I don't know if Dr. Brummett wanted to add maybe how that plays out.
I think on page 2.
Right.
Of the regulation. I'm sorry, if you flip it over.
It's the first, yeah.
The first, I think, Ms. Yap, if I'm understanding correctly, I think we try to address even some of what we learned today in our strategic planning with, if there is something, we try to just work with the student, give a warning, include education in the proper use of privately owned technology devices, implement any restorative practices that should take place, and then review expectations moving forward. So I think that number one really tries to get at just realizing that a behavior sometimes is just an opportunity to educate. And so we'll educate the student, right?
So are you telling the student this warning or the student and the parent?
Well, this is if a student violates it.
So if the student violates it, are you notifying the parent on number one? If my child violates something, it's not just your conversation to have with my child, it's your conversation to have with me. Because at the end of the day, as the parent, I'm the one who implements the discipline in whatever way I choose at home, and I have to reinforce that. So I think that if you're gonna warn the student before it gets to 2, 3, and 4, I think at step 1 should be parental involvement. Because as we're talking about in strategic planning, effective communication is so important. So I think including in step 1, not only is the child, it's a child. They don't even have to remember to do their homework. So like, if it's a child in step 1 is parent child. So now it's not like we call the police, it's this big thing, right? It's step 1, we warn the child and we told the parents. I think that's really important in step 1. We talked about in strategic planning, bridging that gap and effective communication. And therefore we protect ourselves and our school system as far as liability wise, because you've already told the parents and the child and said, this is how we have reasons out, you are aware of what's wrong. I think that's something that protect us as school system.
Thank you.
I'll just briefly, Mr. Freese identified the initial steps and I read discipline logs all the time. We contact parents for most disciplinary issues. So I do think you can be assured that would happen. And with regard to the notification of police, we would only do that if we have reason to believe that a crime had been committed. So some of these lower level issues, they're just using it at the wrong time, or we would never call the police for something like that. But there are times there are obligations. If there is a transmittal of inappropriate photos, that may rise to the level of a child pornography scenario. But again, these are, there's scenarios that happen and some that elevate to criminal activity, but we exercise a lot of discretion and really don't involve the police unless we have reason to believe a crime's been committed. And then we have to, because we're obligated to make sure that is followed. And in some cases, DCF needs to be contacted depending on the scenario. So we do use really, I believe, very good judgment about when does a child just need a reminder, a warning, a teachable moment, restorative practice, and when do we need to do something more significant? So I'll leave it at that.
Thanks. Mr. Halloran?
Yeah, I think in response to what we said, I think I'm fine with the draft regulation. It's nice to kind of see a preview of it. But when it comes to policy, I agree with the extent of the policy because we have to think about the safety and protection of all students. So if there is an incident where there's a victim involved, there's a suspect or a list of some sort or a group chat, those things are going to be found on an electronic device, not in a notebook in a backpack anymore. So I think it does have to, as a policy, we have to cover that because we can't just think about the student who has the device. We have to think about the impact to all the students. And that's where I think the term reasonable suspicion and reasonable in scope needs to come in, because there are going to be situations where it is going to be that extreme because there's a public safety issue involved. So I think I'm fine with the draft regulation, and I do think the policy is well written to cover from distractions all the way through potentially a life-threatening situation. So I just wanted to put that in there, is that I do think it has to get extreme because there are definitely extreme cases.
Yeah, and I want to thank the policy committee too for taking the comments that were made at the meeting that we discussed this originally, consulting the lawyers again and really doing the work to address the concerns that were raised and make the changes that are necessary. I also think that this is a well-written, legally signed off on policy, and definitely you did your due diligence, and I think it is important to move this forward tonight. I do want to address Ms. Yop's concerns that I think the fact that it says that there's reasonable grounds for suspecting, it's not that you're just walking down the hallway and the teacher's like, oh, I think you have something bad on your phone, because there's probably, inappropriate things all the time, but the difference is that if it's an inappropriate thing that's like maybe they're showing a picture to a student, or maybe they're like a list or something that is going to affect another person specifically, I think that their safety is of concern. So it's not just that, a teacher or an admin is going to point out a student just because they're walking down the hall. It's that there's something that's leading them to think that they might have something, or they have evidence that there's something. So I think it says in the policy, one is that the phone or the device is on school grounds, and two, there's reasonable grounds for suspecting. So I think that covers it, and it's not just they're going to be pointed out. So I can if you want to respond. Yeah.
I know we still don't.
Yeah, in the regulation.
Yeah, we wouldn't.
Yeah, I
we
think
wouldn't vote.
Mr. Farisi, this isn't.
So that's a good feedback.
Okay.
We also have that in the handbook still, like defining.
Ms. Carr?
I just had one comment. I agree with Anastasia about adding, contacting parents, because I believe that relationship and communication is important. I know when I first read the policy, I didn't love the fact about the cell phones, just because everyone has their own opinion when it comes to their privacy, their rights, and private property. But when it comes to our school systems, we have to look at it as a balanced system and in a broader stance. parents put the expectations when they drop their kids off. The school systems are doing, all they can to protect their kids, and not having anything in place and something goes wrong, the parents are going to look right at the school systems and say, you didn't do all you could have to protect my kids. So it's a give and take. And, I think the policy does a good job of saying, these two conditions must be met, and, the regulations showing how that would be put in place. So.
Mr. Halloran?
So I'd really like to move on this as well, but I have one question. Does this policy encompass the use of NPS's internet connections?
So it does speak to that in there about connecting to the network.
Okay. Oh, I see it now. Thank you.
Go ahead.
This is just, this policy that we're gonna vote on is just the, number 4, right? Or does it include number 5 with the artificial intelligence? Because I don't understand artificial.
That's why we have a policy.
Yeah.
We have Thank you. And I do kind of agree, I agree with, the shop, only that I think parents should be involved. Are the regulations and policies, do the parents know it before they come to school, before the kids come to school? There's some kind of notification, so.
Yes, we have to publicize policies to families, and it's part of a student handbook where they refer to certain policies. So they're fully informed if they read the policies, yes.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to vote on policy 5145.131, use of private technology devices by students.
Second.
And to clarify, the motion was to approve the policy. Okay. And second, Mr. Halloran, is there any further discussion? Deb, could you do a vote? Roll call vote?
Yes.
Brittany Carr,
Yes.
Sean Halloran,
Yes.
Anthony Nealon,
Yes.
Timothy Newton,
Yes.
Amy Farad,
Yes.
Sam Sarma,
Yes.
Jessica Weaver,
Yes.
Susie yes.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you. Okay, and our last item is action on policy 6141.322.
The fun one. Yeah. As Mr. Mealy alluded to, generative AI is one of the things that's been coming up a lot. And this is one of the things we were talking about when we go over some of the mandate regulations, but also what the legislator is looking at. They actually didn't there was a bill up in the legislature. They also didn't really want to address it either. I think one of the things we wanted to do with this is just recognize that generative AI is a part of this world, and that our students are going to be engaging with it. Our teachers are going to be engaging with it. That is just the reality that we are in. And so really this policy, it doesn't say yay or nay to any of it. It more just says that we need to have responsible use of this. And that is a living and breathing document. So the first policy is up on the screen now, and then following is the regulation. And I think what's important is that in that regulation, we're really just putting considerations into what effective generative AI use looks like. This is a policy we anticipate will be updated multiple times, and we'll have multiple iterations. And I think that's because this technology is moving incredibly fast, faster than any of us can keep up with. But we know that students are going to encounter it. We know that teachers are going to encounter it. And what's important is that we keep academic integrity, that students know how to navigate this technology and learn how to navigate this technology. So for example, and even in the regulation says, for example, students, you could use ChatGPT to get feedback on their essays, but we don't want it to be a tool where they are allowed to replace the student or the teacher, right? So how we know they will interact with this type of technology, I think, it reminds me of the days where we were like, okay, guys, we're using like Chromebooks in the classroom now. Obviously not to that impact, but how we integrated technology, starting back probably really truly the one-to-one in the mid 2000s and 2010s, I think is really important for us to know that this is here, this is now. And we just need to acknowledge that this is kind of going to be a part of society. And so as we alluded to earlier, the portrait of a graduate. Our mission and vision for NPS is to make sure that, we're keeping up to date with these things. So I won't say that this policy says nothing. It does say that, it's important for us to just recognize the existence of AI and making sure that our students are taught responsibly how to navigate this. It is neither like, we need to use AI or don't use AI. It's about responsible use. So that's really just to have the policy in place. And like I said, we will anticipate having many iterations as this technology develops.
Mr. Halloran.
Thank you. I read over the policy previously a couple times, and I think it's broad and built to be elaborated on. It's an emerging technology, and we have to try to keep up with it. I think one thing that jumped out to me too is especially actually consideration for teachers. The difference between a generative AI tool and an open source generative AI tool, where there's potential confidential information that you are putting out onto a server that we don't control. I think that's something we probably need to continue to talk about and evolve, because it's a big difference. It's beyond our firewalls, so we can't control it anymore once it's out there. But I think it's a pretty broad policy to reckon with the technology and say we are going to have to talk about it going forward.
We call it ground floor.
Yes. Thank you for building the basement. We'll start on
foundation.
the walls.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move the Board of Education approve policy number 6141.322, technology and instruction using generative AI, artificial intelligence as recommended.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Deb, please call the vote.
Mary Beatrice,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
John Halloran,
Yes.
Anthony Neely.
I'm gonna abstain. I don't think I have enough knowledge to really make an educated decision. Thank you.
Timothy Milton,
Yes.
Amy Parati,
Yes.
Sam Sharma,
Yes.
Jessica Weaver,
Yes.
Anastasia Yap.
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Weaver.
Sorry, I just wanted to add to, one, as always, my gratitude to the policy. I think we are probably one of the most prolific policy people, as always. So thank you to Ms. Carr, Ms. Beatrice, and Mr. Farisi. And I also just wanted to note in our last meeting, we did talk about kind of coming attractions in the next school year. Obviously, we are coming down to the end of this school year, but we wanted to just discuss, there are a number of mandates coming out again and unfunded. And just Mr. Farisi presented just kind of a number of trainings that are required, I think are very important. But they are required and they do take a lot of time. So, everything from mandated reporting for child abuse, sexual assault, those types of things, to culturally responsive pedagogy. There's like the whole XLC. So I think at some point it might be beneficial for us to bring that back and just kind of go over what is required of our teachers, but that will require policy change as we continue to update what's mandated and required by our teachers. So just wanted to say that was the other policy we discussed. It wasn't actually anything we would change yet. It's just as those mandates come into be with the close of legislative session and just seeing all those. We are completely in compliance with everything, but just wanted to say those will be coming down the line in the fall. And it's some fun, but some frustration. So just want to say thank you to Mr. Farisi and their team, and also that you can go check out our policy website, and all of the policies are on the website. His team moved everything. So it looks really nice. It's super, the UX UI design is incredible. I really like it. And so I just wanted to say thank you to those that helped with that project. I thought it would be like a huge lift, and it was not. So thank you for making it look seamless. So yeah, I don't have another policy date until the fall. So wanted to just say thank you. We got through all of our mandated policies. So thank you to the whole board for reviewing, reading all of that. I really appreciate you taking the time. I don't know what the total is. We'll have to get that But it's been a very fun season. So I just wanted to say thank you all for reading all of our policies and making sure we got those passed.
Thank you so much. And yes, I will definitely say thank you to you as well. And Mr. Farisi, that I don't know who designed it, but it is way easier to navigate and search for policies now that it's on our own housed website. So yes,
But
it's very.
I'd be remiss not to thank our team behind me. So my whole office for pulling everything down and helping format it and getting it ready. And then Jay Salerno kind of built out the website for us. So that was a huge help. And so, yeah.
And it's free. Okay, that brings us back to public participation on any matter related to board business. There's no one in the room. If anyone's online, they can raise their hand. I see anyone? And remarks by board members. Ms. Weaver.
I'm sorry, we can go home soon, I promise. I just wanted to say thank you so much to the staff today. I know a number of us at the table were, keep hearing, we saw each other earlier today. A number of us had the pleasure of attending the strategic planning at Newington High School, which was a really collaborative and great way to see stakeholder engagement of our schools. So I just want to thank the leadership for having that. Really great discussions about our mission, our vision, portrait of a graduate, the things that we're seeing, the equity work that we're doing in the school system. It is incredible to see what the school system looks, couple years on since I've been in there, and the conversations that are happening at the tables we were at this morning. And just want to thank the students that were there. They were incredible. They had just really great stories, and their perspectives were really great. And I think it was one of those things where I was just really proud of our school system and the community that was brought in to have those conversations, and that, we really do reach out, not just within our school walls, but beyond. So just wanted to say thank you. And I'm excited about our strategic plan for the next, the next year. So just wanted to say thank you, guys.
Mr. Halloran.
I motion to adjourn.
Hold on.
Second.
Oh, sorry, I just want to say something.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I do also want to just say, half the board was at strategic planning today, so definitely thank you everyone who did attend, who could attend. And I realize everyone who did attend probably wanted to, but couldn't make it work for whatever reason. But yeah, I know jobs. Yeah. But yes, it was very well thought out. Your whole team, Dr. Brummett, Mr. Farisi, Ms. Krause is online, Mr. Giacomo, everyone, Kristen Freeman, Dr. Harrison, everyone who put that together was fantastic, and the different breakout rooms. It was very. I was talking to some people afterwards. It went by really fast. The whole day. It was a long day, but it went by fast. And yeah, I was yawning a couple times now. Not during it because it was very engaging, but and then yes, having our students, the student panel was fantastic, and like our student rep said today, having students come forward and bringing their opinion, I think it is very valuable. So in whatever forum, and we can discuss, but whatever forum it is super helpful to hear from our students. And I hope that we can have more students come to board meetings and talk about topics that are important to them, because it really does help us do our jobs when we can understand that, we're here for the students and how they're feeling. So definitely appreciated today, and look forward to, I know there's a lot more work to do to put together the mission, vision, everything that is will be adjusted coming out of that session, but looking forward to that. And so we have a motion and a second. Are there any all in favor? Thank you so much. That's okay.